Welcome in, everybody, to our 7th episode of the Free Play Podcast. We have a special guest once again on today's episode. We have Brian Gregorie, the director here at Andover Caps, lifelong Yankees fan.
That's correct, and a New Yorker.
Yep. So we're going to talk about some Yankees offseason so far, what they've done. It's been a little bit underwhelming. I'm sure you can probably tell us a little bit about that. And I think we're going to go over some Royals versus Yankees 2024 ALDS.
We don't want to go back to the 70s and 80s? You sure?
No.
Okay. All right.
I don't have any desire to go back to when we lost to the Yankees every single year in the playoffs. But, yeah. So, first off, obviously the biggest offseason move for the Yankees this year was re-signing Cody Bellinger. 5-year, $162.5 million contract. One of the biggest contracts we've seen in the MLB for an outfielder. That breaks down to $32.5 million AAV in salary. He does have opt-outs after the second and third year, and it would sign him through his age 34 season if he does play out all 5 years on the contract. So what kind of – obviously we know the Yankees traded for Cody Bellinger last offseason in a deal with the Cubs. He came over, produced very well for them, and it was a big discussion this offseason of if they were going to be able to afford re-signing him. They had Trent Grisham and Bellinger to both bring back. Grisham picks up the qualifying offer, which many people did not think he was going to pick up. So what do you think about Cody Bellinger returning to the Yankees, especially on this massive of a contract?
Well, I don't think it's really that massive of a contract, honestly, in the scope of the game these days. And when you look at the deferment that many teams are signing players to, and that includes a $20 million signing bonus. And when you look at just what Judge signed for a couple of years ago, and you look at his average yearly salary compared to what some guys who aren't even close to producing that WAR are getting, the numbers are just so inflated at this point. So I would anticipate, even if he has 2 really good years, I anticipate him opting out. Right. So I think at the price point and what he gives the Yankees, including playing first base, playing all 3 outfield positions, and he honestly could spot a little bit at third base if needed be. He really is a 5-tool player. When we look at his offensive stats, I want to estimate, because I don't have that number in front of me, I'm going to guess 90% of his home runs are suited, for that short porch in Yankee Stadium. He's a pull hitter. When you look at his at-home average versus his away average, there's about a 50-point gap. But that's not really that unusual for a lot of players, too. So, you're hitting 325 at home, you're hitting 255 on the road. I'm more about an on-base guy. I'm more about what he brings to that clubhouse. He's also a guy that I think people forget he's a former MVP. He came out hot as a young player, and he was let go. Mm-hmm. So he's been through adversity. So he's the type of guy who's already faced it all and had to fight back. And New Yorkers love a guy like that. He reminds me as a more subdued, way more subdued Paul O'Neill. He's that type of mentality and work ethic. And his dad played for the Yankees, so he knew what he was getting into. Yeah, he knew what he was getting into.
Yeah, I think, honestly, the more you put it that way, I do agree with you more that it's not that big of a contract. I mean, you look at Soto, 15 years, $765 million. I don't know that in the grand scheme of things, WAR all considered, Soto put up a monster year this year with his batting WAR being insane. Obviously, he doesn't get much from playing the field. If anything, he's a negative defender in the field. So Bellinger is a pretty good outfielder. The sprint speed, the base running metrics still favor him in a lot of areas. He does provide center field versatility. If they ever want to move Judge off of that, move him to first, DH. Probably not mostly DH, but Giancarlo will be on the IL at some point for extended period of time this season. So
way to be a pessimist. I'm hoping he's not.
Going off of the track record, I mean, as long as he's healthy for the playoffs, that's all the Yankees probably really care about with Giancarlo.
Yeah, I care about him in the season too, though. I think losing the weight, not being as massive, I think he can stay healthy. He still runs like he's been permanently disabled and he can't run. It almost reminds me of like after Mattingly had his back injury, he looked like he was running down to first base with a refrigerator on his back. So he's not the ideal base runner by any means. I was not happy Grisham picked up that option. Mm-hmm. That's a
21.7, something like that.
$22 million that you're on the hook for. That really hamstrung us. But I do like what Cashman said about, there's a certain point in any organization that you have to let young players play, and they've earned that right to play. And we have a couple outfielders that deserve a right to get a look. And I think that other organizations have taken the right step in doing that and letting some young players develop. Where other organizations struggle is keeping that young talent. And when you look at just the luxury tax alone that the Dodgers are paying is more than payroll 19 through 30.
Yeah.
That is insanity to me.
Mm-hmm.
They talk about, in the 2000s, the Yankees were ruining baseball with all this money they were spending. And I was really glad to see Toronto put that kind of fight in. They were one secondary lead away.
Yeah.
One secondary lead away from a World Series victory against the Dodgers that their payroll is astronomical.
Yeah. Yeah, and that has sparked the Blue Jays to become even more aggressive this offseason, handing out massive contract to Dylan Cease, tapping into the international free agent market that they haven't done in years past with Kazuma Okamoto coming over from Japan.
But they let Bichette go.
They did.
Why'd they let Bichette go?
I don't know. That's just
He's
to be
their
fair,
grinder. He's their grit guy. I like that about that guy.
I think the problem with Bo was that he was so set on playing shortstop that they realized kind of almost at the end of their playoff run how important defense really is.
Huge.
And they were playing their second baseman, Jimenez, who's a terrific Gold Glove, Platinum Glove winning second baseman, basically has made his career off of being that caliber of a defender, moved him over to shortstop, and it saved them a lot of runs down the stretch. And I thought Bo could have gotten a big deal somewhere to play shortstop. I didn't know that the Blue Jays should have been. I still think they should have paid him that, but I like their pivot move to Okamoto. But getting back to what the Yankees have done here, obviously we touched on the Grisham qualifying offer. I think it was overall important for them to keep him around. He had a great season. Ryan Yarbrough, left-handed pitcher, Ahmed Rosario. He was a trade deadline pickup, I believe, for the Yankees. So they re-signed him on a short-term deal. Paul Blackburn, I think, will end up moving to the bullpen. He's not going to be in rotation depth for them. And then on a sneaky minor league deal I like is Paul DeYoung. I will say, you kind of look like Paul DeYoung.
No, thanks. Appreciate it.
Do you know who Paul DeYoung
Yes.
is? Okay. I think you actually that would be your player comp for me, is Paul DeYoung. But, I mean, that's what we call him when he played for the Royals, Paul DeDong.
Yeah.
Because he hit a lot of dongs, and they were pretty clutch. So I think Paul DeYoung, he's not the best player, but I think if you do get an injury to McMahon or someone over at third, he's played short, he can play second. I think Paul DeYoung could maybe potentially get some burn on the infield this season for the Yankees if it gets that desperate. And I think he hits the ball hard, so maybe he could stick a few homers out there. Overall, I think of these short-term deals, the one that I like the most is probably Ahmed Rosario. I think he played pretty well for the Yankees down the stretch, if I'm not getting confused.
No, he did play very well down the stretch, and I thought you were going to bring up Volpe and shortstop and his struggles, and to be playing with a torn rotator cuff most of the season. I don't know why that management wouldn't actually explain that to fans, because he got beat up a lot. And anytime he came back from rest, he produced pretty well, and then he would start to decline. And that's with that injury that's commonly happened. I actually think our pickup to play third base it reminds me of Scott Brocious. And I know you're probably too young to remember Scott Brocious, but Scott Brocious was picked up from the Oakland Athletics in '98 to replace Charlie Hayes, who was the third baseman for the Yankees. I may be getting this wrong. I'm 45 at this
I don't think anybody's going to call you out.
Scott Brocious came over, and I think he was hitting like 202, 211 with the A's when we picked him up. But he had a great glove. And Blackburn, am I getting that right?
Yeah.
Ryan coming over from Colorado, was that
Or
right?
Ryan McMahon.
Ryan McMahon, sorry about that. Yeah, Ryan McMahon coming over, his glove is phenomenal. And what I like about him is his accountability for when he doesn't hit. And I think he's a major leaguer. He's going to work towards that. So I can see Rosario playing more at short, especially if Volpe starts off slow. He's fast, he steals bases, he's aggressive. I think the glove at third base is Gold Glove level caliber. And
yes.
I do like some of the pickups that they've had. There's nobody that they didn't sign that I wanted on the team, though.
Yeah, it was. I have the next bullet point I had here was notable subtractions. Devin Williams my probably addition by subtraction. He blew a lot of games. Luke Weaver, that one probably hurts a bit. He was pretty clutch, especially in the playoffs. At least
2 years ago.
Yeah, 2024. He was nails.
Yep.
Playing against his former team, the Royals. Mark Leiter Jr. has a filthy splitter. That was certainly fun to watch. You don't see too many guys with a splitter as their primary pitch, and obviously that Leiter name carries a lot of weight in the MLB. Ian Hamilton, I believe, a lefty reliever. I don't know too much about him. He ends up with the Braves. Jonathan Loizaga, Johnny Lasagna.
That one hurt.
Yeah, he's been at the Yankees for a
long
while.
time, and man, he looked angry on the mound. He threw gas when he was healthy.
Yeah,
that one hurt.
He was terrific in the WBC a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
So he did have some injuries this year, I think.
Yeah,
so
he missed most of last year, honestly, and tail end of the year before that. And Williams started out bad, but if you look at his second half of the season, he pitched really well for the Yankees in the second half. His asking price was high, and
15 a year.
And I don't know if he really liked pitching for the Yankees, but he just went across town. He's in Queens now. Weaver hurt a little bit, but I wonder if we caught lightning in a bottle for a year or two with him, because he wasn't much before, and he really struggled. It's like pitchers could see the lack of movement on his fastball and his splitter coming down. And then I know you're going to talk about Paul Goldschmidt next. If he comes back anywhere, I honestly think he will come back to play with the Yankees, or he'll retire a Diamondback. I don't think he'll come back to play for anyone else. And I listened to enough New York podcasts that's kind of circulating a little bit. And when you look at, you've got wow, now I'm blanking, Bird.
Yeah, Jake Bird.
Yeah, and then you have the opportunity for Ben Rice. You have Austin Wells, and then you've got Grisham, and you got Dominguez. Okay, how do you fit 5 players in basically 3 positions? Yeah. So bouncing those guys around in positions as the season goes on, I think is going to be key to keeping them healthy. Mm-hmm. Giving Giancarlo a day off at DH and giving Wells a DH spot instead of catching, putting Rice at catcher, putting Bellinger at first base, and getting Dominguez some time in the outfield. He's got to learn how to play the position if he's going to be a major leaguer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Devin was never really felt like he got off on the best foot with the Yankees. The whole facial hair policy, upsetting that tradition, and then which it was probably time for it to go anyway.
Absolutely.
But it's just you don't want to be the guy. It's bad optics when you're the new guy on the block.
Hey, if he didn't blow 7 of his first 11 games,
Wouldn't
he would have been fine.
Yeah,
everyone would be like, let him have a beard.
Yeah. But the track record will show that Devin Williams is probably in the All-Star game next year and probably up there with the top ERA leaders for closers.
Well, some guys just can't handle, honestly, pitching in that environment. You could name a bunch of pitchers Sonny Gray, All-Star, after leaving the Yankees. There's a bunch of guys.
Jordan Montgomery.
He could handle it, though. I like Jordan Montgomery. He was a good Yankee.
Big offseason acquisition for the pitching staff was Ryan Weathers. I like Ryan Weathers. I think he's pretty good. He's just always kind of hurt. But I think if the Yankees have a pitching lab, let's just be real. They have consistently just pieced together a bullpen the last couple of years of guys that are not that impressive, but they just somehow get the job done. I mean, they rehab these minor league deal guys and guys they pick up off waivers, and they end up being special. So I think they can work some of that magic with Ryan Weathers. They picked him up. They did pay a little bit of a steep price, but we just seen that for starting pitchers across the league this offseason. Brendan Jones got to show a go Cats. He's an EMAW 2024, I believe 2023-24 super regional K-State legend center fielder. He's got some wheels on him. He's a 15th ranked prospect in the Yankee system. Number 16 prospect Dylan Lewis. Number 23 Dylan Jasso, and unranked Juan Macias go to Miami. So a 4-for-1. It's pretty steep, but I think Ryan Weathers could be a good addition, and he's got some versatility. He can pitch out of the bullpen if you need him to in a long relief role. And they do have injuries to Rodon and Cole to start the season in starting pitching department. So I think he could slot into one of those rotation spots early in the season, and then once you get a Cole back in probably, late May around.
Yeah, that's a projection for him and Rodon also.
Yeah. So
I'm not so much worried about trading prospects that are low ranked in the system. It's very rare that you see those types of guys make huge impacts in the bigs. When
Right.
you're trading for an already major league ready kid. But I do agree, the injury history worries me.
Yeah. Just any 4-for-1 is a steep price, and then factoring in that the Yankees don't necessarily have the strongest farm.
Well, 4 pennies for $1 isn't a steep price.
Yeah. I would also say that it's the old saying, always trade kids for men. Yeah. So that's what you're doing. It's like the chances that one of, let alone two of these guys pan out is pretty low. The projected opening day lineup, according to Fangraphs, in this order had leading off Trent Grisham in center field, Aaron Judge playing in right field, hitting second, batting third, left fielder Cody Bellinger, hitting fourth, first baseman Ben Rice, hitting fifth, DH Giancarlo Stanton, hitting sixth, second baseman Jazz Chisholm, hitting seventh, third baseman Ryan McMahon, hitting eighth, shortstop Jose Caballero, because Volpe is working back off the IL. It says early timetable could be early May, for him to be back. But I think they should probably slow play it with him.
I agree.
No need to rush it. And then hitting ninth, catcher Austin Wells. I kind of like Austin Wells.
Oh, I love Austin Wells.
I think he's underrated. He didn't have quite the average, I believe, last year. He destroys the Royals.
He doesn't have the average, but he controls the game behind the plate. He's an above average to average defender back there. And he hits bombs.
He does.
And he is a funny follow on social media.
And he loves breakfast burritos.
He loves breakfast burritos.
I love breakfast burritos, too. Who doesn't love breakfast burritos?
What's the best one in town? What's the best burrito you've gotten for breakfast?
My mom, Patty Scales.
Unbelievable.
The Scales
Shout
Kitchen.
out to Patty.
Yeah, phenomenal breakfast burritos. I know she's listening at home on the couch with my dad.
She can bring in a half dozen or so that we can, share the next time we do this.
She will. Rotation. Well, first, actually, Jason Dominguez on the bench. I have a proposal for you.
All right, I want to hear it. What are you going to say about the Martian?
The Royals need outfielders.
Okay.
We know this. The Yankees, let's just go through the rotation right now. Max Fried, Cam Schlittler, Will Warren, Ryan Weathers, and Luis Heel.
Solid rotation. Solid rotation.
Luis Heel, phenomenal rookie year. But last year was pretty bad.
This is his bounce back. He had they figured him out. Now he has to figure them out. This is a prove it year. He'll be okay.
Ryan Weathers, he has the injury history. We know Will Warren, he wasn't that impressive. He was just 4.9 ERA, I believe is what he ended with. And you have Cole, Rodon, and Schmidt all starting the season on IL.
Yeah, we do have quite a few injuries. We do have 3 guys coming back. They were not going to be gone the whole season. We need to just kind of keep the boat afloat, as they say. Yep. And, the American League East, if you go down that list over the last 25 years, not a lot of guys have ERA below 3. It's a hitting division. There's a lot of good teams in that division, a lot of good hitters.
Mm-hmm. That is true. So my proposal is the Martian for Chris Bubich, Boobalicious, as we call him, and you can toss in a prospect if you want, or a depth player. Pick one that you want. But I think Chris Bubich...
If you want the Martian, you're going to have to throw in someone like Garcia.
Oh, no, absolutely
If you look
not.
at WAR and age and potential, that's what you're gonna have to do. You're gonna have to match the talent projection with the talent projection. Garcia had a 5.8 WAR last year, but he was in the single digits his first 2 years. So he had a pop year. Now, do pitchers figure him out? What is his year next year? It may not be as good as it was his year 25.
Yeah, I think you could say that, but we knew Garcia was going to be this player all along. You can look at his batted ball metrics. The exit velos were off the charts. His overall hit tool was really good. It just lacked the power. It still kind of does, but it's not for a lack of how hard he hits the ball. Sometimes that's why I still feel so confident in Jack Caglione bouncing back, is a guy that hits the ball that hard.
There's not a lot of Royals fans who'll say that. A lot of miss on his swing.
A guy that hits the ball that hard, we can teach contact. We can't teach a guy that's going to hit the ball that hard. I don't care how much he strikes out.
Okay.
If
who
he's
was
gonna...
the Baltimore Oriole who hit bombs and struck out a ton, got a giant contract, and then they let him go? Do you remember his name?
Oh,
His last name Johnson, maybe?
I thought it was Chris Davis.
Chris Davis, yeah.
Chris Davis, the famous 0 for 47 streak.
Exactly. That's what those types of guys can turn into. They can run into a hot stretch, but they can also. You look at Adam Dunn.
Joey Gallo.
That guy Joey Gallo is another great example. He's a Mendoza guy. He barely hits 200, and he somehow scratches 35 bombs. The thing about those guys you have to be careful of when you look at stats, I look at who are they hitting that off of? The 1 and 2 pitcher or the 3, 4, 5? Yeah, they're all major league pitchers, but when that comes postseason time, you're facing the top of those rotations, and that's why a guy like, Jazz kind of fades a little bit in the postseason because now he's seeing the top of those rotations that are coming at you. You're not facing that 4 or 5 rotation guy that you eat lunch off of all season.
Yeah. So if Dominguez isn't going to the Royals, this was my backup plan because I figured that would get shot down.
Well, I just don't like the trade proposal. I mean, we could look at those options, but
No, you don't. You're not getting Michael Garcia. So we know they have Spencer Jones.
Who just fell out of the top 100 for prospects.
Yeah, he's like ancient. He's like 25.
He is 25.
So he's no longer a prospect. So my view on it is I think Dominguez, he should still get at-bats. He will get at-bats throughout the season. They'll work him in just like they did last season. They didn't add an outfielder into this group. It's the same group. So he managed to get some decent at-bats last year. I say you hold him to the deadline in case you have an injury. And if everybody's still going strong, Grisham still is putting up the numbers that he was last year. Bellinger and Judge are doing good. We've seen Judge have foot injuries. So I think if everyone is healthy and performing, the Twins could be a good option. And picking up either Pablo Lopez or Joe Ryan.
Those aren't bad prospects or not a bad trade proposal, honestly.
I think
those are a little bit more solid than the Royals one. And how dare you talk about Judge's foot injuries? I mean, the guy has had
he's putting the team
like
on his back.
You'll never see again in your lifetime the last 3 years.
Yeah.
How dare you talk about him like that?
Yeah. My biggest concern, I would say, for the Yankees heading into next year is overall, I feel like they've stayed status quo.
I disagree. Okay. Well, let's talk about your comment on Jones being ancient. How old was Judge when he made his break into the big leagues?
Like about the same.
Exactly.
24,
25. You can get 10 good years out of a player 25. He's giant. He's 6'7". He had to grow into that body. My concern with him, he hit, I think, 34 homers between double and triple A is just his swing and miss ratio.
Yeah.
He's got to cut down on that. And the thing that's good about Grisham, none of these players have the total package in the outfield. I think Bellinger and Judge do, but Grisham, great defensively, disappears at the plate sometimes.
Yeah.
He's a guy who also feasts off of those fourth, fifth starters. So I don't know. I think they haven't stayed status quo because they brought back the pieces they wanted. They filled in where they needed to, and they have young talent that they want to hopefully come to fruition.
I think my biggest holdup with Spencer Jones is his, I guess, I don't know how to put it, almost his, the way that the Yankees build their prospects up to the MLB, we've seen it fail more than it has been Judge level, like Miguel Andujar, Clint Frazier, like those guys were babied along in the process to the point of when they got up, it was just like they were almost done with them.
Yeah,
and
but
then,
those guys didn't come up through the Yankees farm system.
Yeah.
Those guys were traded for as prospects. Those weren't homegrown talent.
Yeah, and we've seen it. I guess you could technically put Dominguez in there too.
He is homegrown talent.
He got babied up through the system and was an older prospect, and they felt just reluctant to give him the step, which I understand when you're the Yankees. There's a lot of pressure, and you have to be able to produce. Otherwise, you're going to get run out of town really quickly. You see that with Volpe. But
I don't know if I would use the term babied with any of these guys. I think that there's a measured approach with it because the reality is playing in Oakland is different than playing in Yankee Stadium. Mm-hmm. And not many 19, 20, 20-year-old young men can handle that type of atmosphere. You've got to be a real special player to be able to do that. Yeah. And those come along very, very rarely. It's different when every single game when you go to Yankee Stadium, it's pretty much sold out. There's every baseball cap you can see of every team. There's people that are there that are rooting against you actively, even when you're in your home stadium, as opposed to, I mean, I've been to plenty of Minnesota Royals games where there's 16,000 tops at at Kauffman.
Yeah.
And you're not hearing anybody booing you or yelling at you. So it's just a different atmosphere. So I think they've been measured because they do believe in his talent. What hasn't progressed is his defense.
Yeah.
And if that doesn't come along, you got to trade him.
Yeah. I would say with that Yankees point of how hard it is to play there, it reminds me of this year we went to Jack Caglione's home debut against the Yankees. That was the game where Judge hit the probably most impressive home run I've ever seen. He broke the scoreboard in left field, almost left the stadium. It was like a 470-foot nuke in the first inning. That was insane, just kind of quieted the whole building. But it was 60-40 Royals on maybe the biggest game of the regular season, being Jack's home debut. He was hyped up as the best prospect we've seen since Bobby, since Alex Gordon, as a player like that. And there were so many Royals fans there, but they were just as matched as the Yankees fans. So they do travel, they're everywhere, and they're really passionate. Going into the 2024 ALDS, now this series was one that we felt house money going into as Royals fans because we were just happy to be there. We had no idea that this team was going to be anywhere being close to that good, and there was real talk.
They were a fun team to watch.
There was real talk among the fan base of the team in August being able to go on a run, and we've seen this in 2014 and 15 with the Royals that you just get in the dance, have the pitching like we did that year. We had the horses, and we had enough production from the top of our lineup that we could sustain and just hope some guys in the playoffs could be playoff heroes. And then Vinny P goes down in Houston with a thumb injury.
Huge injury.
Kind of derailed the season. We get him back for the playoffs, but he's not close to the player we expected. Bobby obviously struggled big time in this series, probably because playing under the pressure of the playoffs at Yankee Stadium. But
I just think it's a micro. I don't count it to that, honestly. Bobby Witt's too good of a ball player.
Yeah.
It's such a short window. Take 5 games at any point in time in the season. It's so microscoped. I get it. They can say he fell apart in that series, but
same thing with
he's
Judge
too good
too.
of a player to.
Yeah,
he's phenomenal.
Yeah. I think that applies for Judge too.
Sure.
It's just too small of a sample size, especially when Judge has to put the team on his back.
Right.
Like he does. It's just bound to happen at some point. But honestly, this was, despite being house money, this was probably the most nervous I've ever been in my life watching the Royals, because I was 7 when they won the World Series.
Yeah.
So I remember watching the games, but obviously playing the Mets, lol Mets. It's that those games were late, especially on the East Coast. I was not staying up for those. My dad would be falling asleep on the couch, and he'd hear the crack of the bat, and he'd wake up and see what happened. But game 1 of the series is probably the best game of the series, if you can recall it. I have a quick little brief summary. I call this the game that we knew the MLB was rigged.
Oh my goodness gracious! Here we go.
Jazz was out at second. We just have to acknowledge that the umpire blew the call. Not only did he blow the call on the field, he blew the call after replay assist, which is by far the biggest joke of all time.
Right.
Because let's send the play to replay assist in, guess what? New York.
Right.
Wow. I wonder what the call's going to be.
Right. Yeah, sure.
So I thought it was a little bit of home cooking, and there's still a chance that the Yankees win that game regardless, but this was the situation. The Royals get the call. The run doesn't score in the 7th because that takes the runner off a second.
I just want to bring up that you sound like a St. Louis fan after their guy the Royals being called safe at first base when he was out in Game 6 of the 85 World Series. You sound exactly like it. Here's the thing about baseball. How many at-bats? How many outs in the game?
27. Yeah.
Right. There's so many opportunities for things to go one way or the other. Who's the Detroit Tiger who didn't get a perfect game?
Armando Galarraga.
Because of who? Don't say his name. I know his name. I don't want to ever speak that umpire's name. Angel. Ugh.
Yeah.
Ugh. But I get it. There's plays like that all the time. In every game, you can point to one thing that didn't go a certain way. You can also go to a guy missing on a 2-2 strike straight down the middle. Why didn't he hit that? Why didn't he crush that? I can't stand replay in anything. I do not understand how that wasn't a catch in the Bills game for the Bills, and it was a fun. It wasn't a catch in that game, it was an interception, and then I watched the game that night against the Bears.
Yeah.
And that's a catch. So like, you're right. It is in my opinion, it's a straight joke when it comes to this stuff. Make the call on the field and live with it and be done with it.
Yeah. In real time, it looked like he was safe. Go back and replay, and he was out.
He was safe, even on replay. Yeah.
All right. Now you're just trying to get a rise out of me. Game 2. Also, Angel Zerpa was abysmal that game. I think he threw 18 pitches and 11 were balls.
Yeah, he was abysmal. That's correct.
And that was the funniest part about that was we should have lost the Orioles series because if we got there was a situation the bases were loaded with one out and Angel Zerpa was our basically only lefty on that team other than Chris Boobalicious Bubich, and we threw Angel Zerpa, put him in the game, and he basically loads the bases, and he throws an inside pitch to Jordan Westberg, and he had just come off the IL with facial fractures, and he puts the bat up to try to defend himself, and he fouls the ball off.
Yep.
And that would have been ball 4.
Yep.
So we got bailed that game, and I think he struck him out on the next pitch, and then he got a fly out to end the inning. So that would have put us down to our third starter, which would have been probably Michael Wacha. And I who knows in a game 3 in a wild card what happens, but we kind of did get a little bit bailed.
Well, let's talk about a bigger piece that I think that's one play that you can cite, okay? Who leads Major League Baseball every season the last 4 years on strikes called out of the strike zone? I'll give you one clue. He's right fielder for the New York Yankees, and he's 6'7".
Yeah.
Okay? So when I watched that game, and I'm watching Aaron Judge on a 2-0 count get a strike called on him, which instead of a 3-0 count makes it 1-2, when the ball is 6 inches below the box on the TV. That drives me crazy. And that, if you watch Judge, and I watch almost every Yankee game I can, so I probably see 100 a year plus postseason because they go a lot. Sorry, I had to throw that in because they go a lot. They're constantly calling that. And as a baseball player, you know that a 3-0 count is a lot different than a 1-2 count. Or a 2-1 count, excuse me.
Yeah.
So it changes his at-bats and what he can do and just getting on base. I've seen him go from a 2 balls, no strikes count to a 2-1 out of the zone, a 2-2 out of the zone. Then he reaches and he looks like, it's a bad strikeout by Judge. I'm like, he should have walked 2 pitches ago.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't get too caught up in it. I've lived through the Jeffrey Mayer scandal, of pulling the ball over when Jeter hit that home run. And there's been all kinds of plays. Like I said, 85.
Yeah.
The Royals should have been out and lost that World Series. But people will say, Royals fans, well, Cardinals could have, come back and won the next day, and they got their butts kicked.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. I think this first take I had about Game 1 is just simply fueled by the fact that I hate Jazz.
Yeah, and trust me, I've told you this off record, but I'll say it on here. Jazz is the type of player that if he's on another team, you don't like him.
Yeah, you don't. Yeah.
You don't like him. You only like that type of guy when he's on your team. I think every team has to have someone like that, though, to try to get over the hump. Someone who starts that fire.
No, yeah, the Royals had it in 2024. Tommy Pham. He was he's been a mercenary on about any MLB team you can imagine.
That's
and
true.
More often than not, success follows.
Yeah, it does.
He's a grinder. I mean, the Royals had the same thing in 2014-15.
Yes.
So many guys, Big Game James Shields. In 2014, he was the one that really pushed him over. Zobrist was a grinder.
Yep.
I mean, it's just everybody in the Royals lineup in 2015 was a grinder.
All those guys peaked at the same time, too. Because you remember Gordon, he was a touted prospect. That he really struggled to have those breakout seasons. And then I'm going to forget all of these Royals players because I'm not a Royals fan.
Moustakas, Hosmer, Kane, Escobar.
Right. All those guys had that window, and they kept him in, jumped on that train. But as soon as their big contract years came up, they let them go.
Yeah.
Smartly, because their production went down.
Also because we couldn't afford
it. Why
it.
did Haas go to San Diego, the worst home run hitting ballpark in all of baseball, and he goes there? Yeah, I don't get
Money.
it. Don't get it.
Money. Game 2.
He could have been a legend in KC if he stayed.
Could have. He still is.
He is, yeah.
But, I mean, yeah. Game 2, the humbling of Carlos Rodon, as I call it. This was hilarious to watch. Partly also because the Royals won, which made me happy. But in my all-time hate list of the current Yankees, I put Jazz Chisholm first, obvious reasons.
Right. He lives rent-free in your head.
Anthony Volpe second, just because I cannot stand the people that compared him to Bobby when he was coming up. There was
I don't think anyone does that anymore.
No. There were so many truthers, though, that would compare him and be like, Volpe versus Bobby, who's the better prospect? And it was like, this isn't even close.
Prospect talk, that's all.
Yeah. And they were comparing him throughout their first year, and Bobby kind of started off a bit slow, and Volpe, he started off better as a Yankee than he has been recently. And then third, coming in is Carlos Rodon. Just solely based on this game. I have no other reason to hate him except for this game.
Wow.
Do you remember the events that happened in this game?
I don't. It's kind of like when you beat your little brother in a sport, you forget everything that happened in the games.
So Rodon comes out hot.
Yeah.
He's feeling the playoff atmosphere in Yankee Stadium.
I remember him doing, he got real pumped.
Yeah, he did. He got a little too pumped.
Yeah.
And he strikes out the side in the first.
Right.
It was electric. He was pumping like 98, 99, which is a lot for him. And then he holds the Royals to one hit in the second inning, and then he comes out all cocky on the mound. He's like grabbing his junk, walking off the mound, like he's flexing on him. And guess who comes up? Salvador Perez, and he deposits one into the left field of Yankee Stadium, and he sticks his tongue out at him rounding third base.
Right.
And it was just hilarious. And then he gives up 2 more runs, gets yanked before he could make it out of the 4th inning. I've never seen more of a. Actually, I have. This happened to Simeon Woods Richardson, too, this year. He was complaining. He was making fun of Kyle Isbell for trying to bunt on him. He bunted for a hit in his last at-bat. He told him to swing the bat, and he hit a homer into the Twins bullpen the very next pitch. So those are the top 2 situations I've seen of getting humbled on the field. And so I just appreciated that from Carlos Rodon, just fueling us to start scoring runs on him.
That's the sport, though, and that's, again, an example of what's great about sport. Because if that's your guy doing that and getting all pumped up and yelling at his dugout, and I think fans root for a guy like that when they're on their team and don't. It's just how that goes.
I just think it's funny that Salvi was the one that stood
Salvi
up to it.
Always run into. He's a seasoned vet. He can always run into a home run.
Yeah. I have another alternate title of this game.
Okay.
But this one doesn't actually feature the Yankees or the Royals. It's the game that ended Bob Costas' career.
Syracuse alumni Bob Costas. Why did it end his career?
Did you not watch the series?
I'm curious why you think it ended his career.
He was awful. The one play that sticks out in my mind was he was talking about Giancarlo's injuries.
Yes.
And there was, I believe, 2 on and 1 out. So this is a big situation. The Royals desperately needed to win this game if we wanted any chance of winning the series before we took it back to KC.
Was this game 3?
This was game 2.
Game 2.
No, game 3. I think it was game 3. It was game 3. And maybe it was game 2. One of the 2. And he just hits this little grounder over to Bobby Witt. He dives in the hole, picks it, throws it to second. Massey flips it over to first, double play. And instead of, hyping up the guy that just made a crazy good double play, this is just the point we were talking about. It's simply not his fault. There's just too many injuries. And then that's the end of the inning. It just lacked enthusiasm to me. And I just thought, that's probably it for Bob Costas. The outrage was massive on social media, and it was just time for him to hang it up, even though now he's doing Sunday Night Baseball.
Yeah, when you listen to broadcasters long enough, and if you vary your listening of who's announcing games, I don't know why, but it does. Everyone's human to make mistakes, but you hear mistakes every broadcast.
Yeah.
The wrong name, the wrong pronunciation, the wrong count, the wrong amount of outs, that kind of stuff happens.
Yeah.
You're going to find a guy, if you root for a team long enough, you're going to find an announcer who you think is biased against your team.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that.
Mm-hmm. I just thought Bob Costas was just generally bad. In the series, I just felt like he lacked enthusiasm. Go back and listen to it. That's all.
I would be remiss to cut Bob Costas with his storied career based off of one instance in one game. I'd like to see.
Oh, it was a whole series.
I would like to see more than one series of evidence for the dismantling of that storied career, sir, because I just don't see how that could possibly take him down entirely.
It was actually so bad that he did stop the next season. Like, he did not call any games, and I think he's doing Sunday Night Baseball now. He's like the pregame anchor for it on Peacock or whatever they're doing now, something like that. But I think that was the end for Bob Costas. I mean, legendary announcer, more than legendary.
Well, it's like listening to Joe Morgan talk announcing Yankees game. He's anti-Yankees. He's part of the Big Red Machine in the 70s, and he's not a Yankee fan by any means, and you kind of get that feeling from it. So, yeah, I didn't even notice Bob Costas downplaying the greatness of what you want to say is the greatest. Again, Nomar Garcia Parr, if you look at his early career, had a number of great years. The thing that Bobby Witt Jr. needs to do is just longevity. He just needs to produce for a long time before I'm shouting from the rooftops the greatest or anything like that. You still have George Brett in your Hall of Fame. That was the greatest Royal I've ever seen.
Yeah, I think the 2024 season Bobby Witt put up, not only do I think he should have been MVP,
of course,
over Judge,
right?
I think it's probably, in my opinion, the greatest shortstop season of all time. Better than the Alex Rodriguez 10.7 WAR or whatever. Just because the way that Bobby put the team on his back, like that team, they were good. They would not have even sniffed the playoffs if it wasn't for him. I don't think. Obviously, A-Rod was an insane defender.
Well, if you're putting that as your over the hump for the greatest shortstop season, the Yankees wouldn't have sniffed the playoffs without Judge's season. They would have finished third or fourth in that division. So that's splitting hairs because if you base it off of the most valuable player to the league, what does that mean? And that's a whole nother podcast because is it who brings in the crowd, who's the best defender, who's the best offensive player, who catches the most innings and controls the game.
True.
You could have so many different reasons to vote one way or the other on MVP. It's splitting hairs, but who won it?
Judge did.
Judge won it. There
it's
all
right. Bobby will get his.
Jeter got robbed of an MVP too. He got not Mauer, but the other twin who won the MVP that year.
Brian Dozier?
No, God, Brian Dozier.
That was a deep pull. Brian Dozier.
I saw Brian Dozier play a ton at Kauffman.
He was like the only good twin for a while.
Yeah.
Once Mauer fell off. Another reason why I hate Anthony Volpe is Game 4. Right. The bench is clear. Game 4. He accuses Mike Hell of making a dirty slide in at second, and then
he did. Replay will show that.
And then he throws a little elbow at him on the slide.
Yeah, it got chippy.
And then he shoos him off.
Yeah.
After I was like, it's just not necessary.
I think it's completely awesome because it's a different era. Yeah. You know, you're looking at. I grew up in the era where Brett came out of the dugout ready to murder someone in the pine tar. And this was nothing compared to that. It's chippiness. It's the same thing where Jordan used to get mugged in the NBA, thrown to the ground, and now everyone's best friends and trading and joining up on teams in the NBA.
Yeah.
It's a different era. It's different. I didn't think anything of it. It was fun
to
see the Royals and Yankees kind of. And what I like about this conversation is, you said you don't want to talk about 70s, 80s. I'm sure Yankees and Royals fans talked like this in the 70s and 80s. It's that rivalry. It's fun for baseball.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I love fights in baseball. They're the best. I think out of all the sports.
Hockey.
Oh, I mean, yeah, but
baseball's a close second. Yes.
Yeah. The way I love seeing people just roll out of the dugout and
they're all posturing. They're all running out, but not really doing anything.
When the bullpen's clear too, the bullpen's cleared in this game. And it was just all kind of for nothing at the end of the day. But I don't know. It just feels like I enjoy the fact that every time the Yankees come to Kauffman, that no matter who is playing for the Royals, no matter who is playing for the Yankees, there will be some beef there between the two fan bases. And especially if Jazz and Volpe are playing, they will get booed without fail every single time.
No, they get booed in a lot of places, so they're used to it. They're fine. They get booed in New York if they're not producing. They're fine.
It's true. It is true. What else? Oh, yeah, I think this was honestly, to me, a kind of a weird shift because Volpe was pretty decent. I'd say maybe good that season.
Volpe had a good year 2 years ago. He fell off with injuries last year.
Yeah, and then since then, it's Volpe's trended downwards, and Michael Garcia was at the basically the level that Volpe was right now.
Well, you're talking about a third baseman versus a shortstop, though. So that's...
Volpe should be not playing shortstop.
Okay.
He is horrific as a defender at shortstop.
Okay.
He's awful. Like, he needs to play second base.
Potentially he can move there, but you can't compare apples to oranges. I mean, a third baseman to a shortstop, totally different.
To be fair, though, Mike Hill is a shortstop.
He's not playing shortstop.
He came up as a shortstop.
What's he playing in the major leagues?
Third base.
There you go.
So here's the thing.
How many games has he played at shortstop compared to third base in the pros?
I mean, he's played like 50 games at shortstop.
Compared to 250 at third?
It's probably more than that. He's played the last 2 years at third.
He's got a cannon of an arm. He's at the right spot at third base.
Did you know that his...
That's why when we trade the Martian for him, I think it's a fair trade.
Did you know that Mike Hill's cousin is Ronald Acuna?
That makes sense.
And his other cousin, I believe, is Alcides Escobar.
Oh, that's amazing that runs in the family.
Yeah, so that's why he's not getting traded. Mm-hmm. That's why, if anything, Ronald Acuna will be coming to Kansas City once his contract is up as a Brave.
Wow.
They're
not paying him. They're not paying him.
He's going to get like $40 million.
He's going to get $60 million a year. Who just got $60 million a year? That was ridiculous. Was that the outfielder?
That was Soto.
No, Soto got $50 a year.
Oh, Kyle Tucker.
Kyle Tucker got $60 million a year. That is insanity.
Yeah, that was a lot. He's not even close to. He's probably worth half that.
He'll make $2 million a game because he'll only play 120 games this year, I bet.
Yeah, probably.
That's wild.
He was hurt for a lot of last year.
Yeah.
The rest of the series was pretty bad. But to me, who knows where it could have gone if the Royals didn't get shafted
Who
in
knows
Game
where it could
2.
have gone if Judge actually had the right calls at the plate, you know? I mean, that's life, my friend. Live in the past or celebrate the future.
Yeah. I think there's a decent chance we do get Royals-Yankees again in the postseason this year.
I think there's a good chance that they battle for a number of years. They're set up. But what you don't want to have happen is the fall-off that happened after they went to the World Series twice.
It's true.
And that's the difference between kind of a middle market team and some of the top 10% who continue to produce.
Yeah.
But the money's not a guarantee. The Mets don't always make the playoffs. The Red Sox don't always make the playoffs.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens.
I think the biggest thing I've seen so far, obviously new ownership for the Royals since then, is that we're taking early steps to ensure that we aren't a one-off team or a two-time World Series team like the 2014-15 Royals, where we have already started making extensions with younger players. Like we extended Garcia, working on one with Vinny right now, which I think is big. He's the guy that drives the bus, I really think, in the locker room for us, and the straw that stirs the drink, if you will.
I think I think that's smart to do, but you got to remember that doesn't always work, because who was your shortstop 15 years ago? Angel Baroa?
Yeah.
They signed him big time money, and he didn't pan out. It's the game of what could happen.
Right. Yeah, but I think, obviously there's still a chance that Mike Hill may regress, or that was just the one-off.
I kind of hope he regresses enough that they trade him to the Yankees. I'm fine with that.
No, you're killing me. I think, but having, at least taking the swing of establishing the core, like, we didn't even try. We just knew that Hosmer, Moustakas, Kane, they were gone. The only one that we really made an effort to retain was Gordo.
Salvi.
I mean, yeah, but Salvi was, by the time he came up with those teams, he had a lot of team control left. We knew with 2 years left of team control, we didn't even bother trying to go for an extension with Hosmer or Moustakas. So I like the new ownership group stepping up and committing money. I still think there's a little bit to go in free agency wise of committing money to players, but
yeah, and that not just free agency but trade deadline. When you start to see the Royals active at the trade deadline, you know that they feel like they've got a solid foundation and they're making moves for success.
Yeah, we've been building up our. Dayton Moore left us in an awful spot when we fired him in 2022 and promoted up J.J. Piccolo, who's done a fantastic job in my opinion. I think they've made the right decisions in Matt Quatrero, who grew up as a Yankees fan, so that's kind of fun whenever they play him in the playoffs. But it's just been about building up this farm system, so they did the same thing in the early 2010s. We had some blast from the past names like Will Myers and other players like that who were top prospects in the league, and we dumped them. Matt Strom was one of them.
You just got to hope that the ones you keep all pan out at the same time.
Yep.
And that's if you want to talk about like the Yankees' lack of success, it's been the lack of all of their prospects maturing at the same time and producing. Right. That's the big difference. You have a chance for it, but it could also go the other way.
Mm-hmm. That's maybe something that I think the Yankees should be a little bit more aggressive about, is parting with some prospects earlier on. I'm sure you may feel the same way.
I'm burnt by the whole Jay Buhner deal. I go back to the 80s when they traded away Jay Buhner, and he was a prospect. And under Steinbrenner, he used to trade a lot of prospects. When Steinbrenner was kicked out of baseball for a number of years, and Gene Michael came in, and they started to right the Yankee ship in the early 90s, it was really because they kept on to a Bernie Williams, a Jorge Posada, an Andy Pettit, a Derek Jeter, and so on.
Right.
That is, they had a core group that came together, and that's the run you had in 14-15. That was a core group that came together. What you need to look at, what I would be looking at as a Royals fan, is what's my core group? What are their ages? What can they do? And you do have some core guys, but you know, there's a lot of strikeouts in your boy that came up last year.
Keggs?
He's got to do something.
I feel good about our future, though. We got Bobby, we got Michael, we got Vinny, we got Carter Jensen. You know about Carter Jensen? Yeah. He's a stud. And he's a Kansas City kid, local.
There's a chance for you guys to pop, honestly.
And Keggs. I think Keggs is going to be good. Obviously, he could burn us.
When it comes to postseason, though, pitching, who do you got for your rotation?
I think.
What's your bullpen look like?
We got a good bullpen. Carlos Estevez led the league in saves.
He did.
Carlos Estevez with the Kamehameha every time he gets a save. I think.
But you don't like Rodon getting a little bit excited, but you're good with that.
But the game's over.
I mean, come on.
The game's over.
This is
the game's over.
Unbelievable.
Rex Hudler. Shout out to the GOAT announcer, the best announcer in the game, Rex Hudler, the Royals play-by-play or color commentator.
Right there, you just call Homer. That's what I would call you on all this.
Have you heard Rex Hudler?
Yes, of course.
He's awesome.
I watch all baseball. I'll turn college. I'll go to high school games, but the pro's the best.
One last thing before we get out of here.
Okay.
How it's so awful that you can't just turn on ESPN or a channel and watch a game. You have to have FanDuel Sports Network or the Yes Network. You have to have these specific packages. Like, what if I want to watch another two teams play and it's not on national TV, which they took away on ESPN Sunday Night Baseball. So you have to now have, I think, Peacock to get those games.
Tonight's on, so you don't have that feeder information. It's sad to me, honestly. I buy the single game package for the Yankees on MLB TV, so I can watch those games. But then if they're playing the Royals, I can't watch it.
Right.
I have to go to Fox, or I've got to go out to a place that has the game on TV. No, they're definitely not doing much to help youth get excited about the greatest sport there is. Yep. At least that's my opinion. I think it's the greatest sport there is.
Yeah, I agree. I think baseball is there's nothing quite like how long the season is and the ups and the downs and
the grind of it. Yeah, it's tough. So.
Yeah, the NBA gets close with how long the season is, but we've just seen so many guys that don't care.
Right.
And the NBA, I mean, there's players like Mike Trout who are literally fighting who knows how many injuries just to get back for the regular season.
Right.
Because they have to put the team on their back and try to make something happen. And I think the Super Bowl is the only closer event to the World Series in terms of how unpredictable it is on who will get there. Once you get in the playoffs, you really have no idea.
No, and you've seen a lot of wild card teams make the World Series because what you said earlier, getting hot late in the season, everything coming together, making that push, and that team that's just been good all year and kind of coasts and rests, they're not ready for that punch in the mouth. It was
the Brewers.
Yeah.
Prime example, they got swept
Absolutely.
By the Dodgers because the Dodgers were a sleeping giant. They hadn't performed the best in the regular season because of injuries, which is kind of how they designed their roster, just to get everybody healthy in the playoffs. And the Brewers had just been dominating the NL Central the entire year, so they kind of mailed it in towards the end of the year. Had some guys that went on a slump, and they get smoked in the playoffs. It wasn't even close.
Well, I know we're probably past our time. I appreciate you having me on. We should come back and do predictions for the divisions, regular season standings, and early season MVP, most improved, Cy Young. I know I got my list.
Okay.
Bobby Witt's not getting the MVP. I'm just telling you right now.
And Judge isn't getting my MVP. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you all in the next episode.